Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, March 26th Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. We apologize for being a little bit tardy this evening. We've got a pretty lengthy agenda this evening. Just some of the highlights to that agenda. We have 6 different items for special recognition. We've got several cheerleader teams or POM teams here this evening that we will be honoring, as well as our Waste Pro driver and a couple of education awards as well. This evening we do have citizens to be heard, as we do for each and every meeting. When that item is item number 9 on the agenda, we'll call you forward. You'll state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak to the board. We do have to have all the sheets filled out completely. There's a Mr. John Benton here today. If you could come forward and sign yours, and then we can make sure that you're in the stack to be recognized later on. This evening we'll meet as a beer board, so we'll recess after citizens to be heard, and we will have 1 public hearing for a temporary beer permit. We also have final reading on a rezoning issue, and we will make this general announcement. Right after we have our citizens to be heard, right after we have our special recognition, we will allow the chambers to clear of all those specially recognized groups and folks so that they can go home and have dinner, and then we'll conduct our regular business for the board. This evening, our invocation will be led by Reynold Douglas. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Alderman Rocky Yonda. Please rise.
Please join me in a word of prayer. Gracious, eternal God, our Father, we come again with thankful hearts. We are thankful for this moment, for the people that started this day with us and are still with us today. We say a special prayer for our work family. You know what each one of us are going through, and we know that you're able to see us through. We ask now that you be a part of this meeting, that this meeting go as you would have it go, and decisions be made to glorify you. In your name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Brings us to item number 4 on the agenda, setting of the agenda. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting and thoroughly went over and vetted the agenda. The agenda was also published to the public. During executive session, there were a couple of items that will be moved. Item 12 on the regular agenda, tenant-owned improvement agreement, Track 16, Germantown Road, Wolf River Boulevard, intersection improvement project, will be moved to item 11M on the consent agenda. So 12 moves to 11M on the consent agenda. Also, administration requests that item 15, ordinance 2018-5, rezoning of the Reeves-Schaefer property located at 3258 Forest Hill Irene Road and 9190 Winding Oak Way from C1 Neighborhood Commercial and RE1 Residential Estate to R Residential Zoning, third and final reading. That item may be deferred for a period of 2 weeks so the city can review some documents that just came to the city's attention today. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as modified?
Move to approve.
Is a motion?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yeah, I think I'd like to have discussion on it, Mayor. So, as I said during the executive session, I am not opposed to postponing the vote tonight, but I do think the citizens should hear a discussion on this. If the other aldermen choose not to put their comments on the record tonight, I'm okay with that, but I personally would like to go ahead and put my comments on the record because I think they will be useful not only to the public but also to this board. Just as I said during the executive session, the reason that we've been asked to postpone this issue is because I found a public document in a public folder in City Hall. And I've asked the city to explain why this document wasn't disclosed not only to the board but also to the public. So in my opinion, It was something that was material to our decision tonight, and it should have been disclosed to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, which is shown by the fact that we've been asked to postpone this tonight. So if the board would allow me to amend the agenda and to at least enter my comments about this tonight, I would appreciate it. Again, I am not opposed to postponing this. I think it should be postponed, but I think that the discussion should go forward so that the public can understand exactly what's going on.
Any other discussion? Alderman Owens.
Just in light of Alderman Massey's comments, I think that explains we don't have a resolution on whether this document is a valid document or not. And that really means everything or nothing. And so to discuss, to base our discussion on this document like you just did, it's erroneous. It's not valid. And so I would not be willing to listen to your discussion because you're going to talk about a document that may or may not be something that's recorded or valid.
Well,
Any other?
no.
Hold on now. We take turns during discussion. Any other comments from the board? Alderman Yonda.
Yes, I agree. It's irrelevant at this point, and until it becomes relevant, I don't think we should have a discussion on it because it'll just be agenda.
Any other comments on this particular question? Go ahead, Alderman Massey.
Mayor, with all due respect, I won't mention the covenant tonight. I have other items that I would like to address to the public, so my comments are not based on this covenant. I won't mention the covenant, and that should do away with the concerns that Alderman Owens and Alderman Yonda have, and I should be allowed to make my comments on the public record tonight. Take about 10 minutes.
Thank you for your comments. Alderman Owens? No, thank you. All right, the question has been properly motioned and second.
Are
Please
we
call the roll.
amending, are you going to accept my motion to amend to allow me to speak tonight?
All right, state an amendment for me.
I'd like to amend the agenda to be able to enter my comments into the public record tonight. It'll take about 10 minutes for me to accomplish that.
Is there a second? Second. So motion and a second on amending the original motion to allow for Alderman Massey to speak. Please call the roll.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
No.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
No.
Alderman Yonda?
I'm going to vote no. He can say the same thing 2 weeks from now.
Thank you. The amendment does not pass. We move to the original motion on the floor that's been seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
No.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Given the fact that this motion was denied, I will vote yes because I did make the motion. Thank you.
The agenda has been set for this evening. That takes us to item number 5 on the agenda, approval of the March 12th, 2018 minutes in executive session. There was no additions or modifications. I believe Alderman Barzizza may have an amendment.
Thank you, Mayor.
Or a motion, my apology.
Thank you. Thank you. Back on January the 8th, Alderman, Vice Mayor, I should say, Mary Ann Gibson, made a proposal in regards to the Cordova Triangle. I think each one of us has this proposal. I think it was in your baskets. The letter that I sent the mayor. Okay. I see no reason to read it other than the fact that would just be recanting what Vice Mayor Gibson as well as what the mayor had to say. But my motion, my formal motion to the BMA to this date is to move the exact quotes of all concerned regarding the Owens Triangle to be admitted in the minutes of BMA of January 6, 2018. Anything less would be contrary to good government. I would respectfully request that this motion be passed.
It's been a motion made to include and modify the minutes from the meeting of January 8th to include comments made by the mayor and vice mayor on the Cordova Triangle.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I have no problem putting the words that I spoke on January 8th into a record. However, to say that it's not good governance or that it's contrary to good governance to do so, the minutes reflect the actions of the meeting. And so I'm happy to either restate that for Ms. Betty. The proposal was to ask for staff to, after doing their analysis, to remove the Cordova Triangle from the central business district. And then there was also a request about the, to make certain that the T4 removal and how that affected the landscape preservation area. So those two were germane to the discussion then, and if that's what's necessary, we'll put that back in.
Any other comments?
Mayor, may I
Yes, Alderman Massey.
May I recommend that we just simplify things and ask the clerk to record Ms. Gibson's comments verbatim?
I think that was the motion that was made earlier by Alderman Barzizza.
Well, I wasn't sure what Alderman Gibson was getting around to with
I think
with
she was
her
just
comments.
restating or summarizing what she said on the 8th. That's the
Okay.
way I interpreted that.
Okay.
Alderman Yonda.
I really have no problem with the motion to add these words, but I do have a problem with his comments that there's a serious issue here regarding the recording of the minutes. I think the issue is that Alderman Barzizza doesn't understand how the minutes are supposed to be recorded. And as it is in the Robert's Rules of Order, which we do follow, it basically says that the most frequent mistakes are trying to summarize reports offered and arguments made in debate, including all the amendments and secondary motions. In fact, in standard form, the minutes should only generally include only what was done, not what's said. We made no motion on this. I don't think that has anything to do with good government. We're doing it the right way. We've been doing it the right way for years. And we do have the video for people to go back if they want to hear all the different things that I've said or Alderman Massey has said. It's not her job to report everything and every word that was said. But I have no problem at all with the motion.
Well,
So
I'll
if he
just
wants to add
remind,
it, I'm
I'll
okay
just
with it.
remind the board that our attorney opined in February of 17 that we are in full compliance with the way our city takes minutes. That has been referenced through Tennessee Code annotated state law, through consulting with MTAS, Municipal Technical Advisory Service, our city charter, and case law. So we are in full compliance of the methodology of taking notes, or minutes that is, and those are accurate and they have been entered into accurately. There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Massey,
Yes.
Alderman Owens.
Yes.
Alderman Yonda,
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson.
Yes.
The minutes have been amended from the January 8th meeting. We still have on the table the regular meeting held on March the 12th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes as presented?
A motion to amend the minutes for March 12th.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I'd like to amend those minutes to reflect that School Board member Lisa Parker did not have the authority of the school board to speak in favor of the rezoning of the Reeve Schaefer property.
That's not subject to the clarity of minutes. That's subject to either your opinion or others' opinion. I mean, someone can speak. I don't think the minutes reflect who gave them authority. They just came forward and spoke.
No, I'm asking that the minutes be amended to reflect that she did not have the authority of the school board to speak in support of the rezoning of the Reeve Schaefer property. I think that the minutes should reflect that she was not speaking on behalf of the school board. And if you go back to what you've been said, and people only are allowed to view the video of the meeting would actually reflect that Ms. Parker said she had the authority and was speaking on behalf of the school board when she made those comments. So unless we actually correct those minutes as they are written, there's no official record that Ms. Parker misrepresented the facts to the board.
I'm not going to be argumentative. Her the minutes reflect she expressed her support of the rezoning. She doesn't mention anything else as the minutes reflect, unless you have an affidavit or something that proves her authority or lack thereof, it'd be supposition right now.
Well,
I think you just stated what you believe to be.
no, Mayor, we each received phone calls from the school superintendent and chair telling us that Ms. Parker did not have the authority to speak on their behalf. I mean, we can, if members of this board want to claim that the school board or that the chair and the school superintendent did not call each of us and have that conversation, then that's your prerogative, but it happened. And
There is a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda, one
I
second.
do have a question. Where is it on the minutes that it says that? We're making an adjustment to the minutes. Where is that? Is it here? Or is he
No.
adding it to the minutes?
I'm adding it to the minutes.
Okay.
Alderman Barzizza.
Yes, well, considering the fact, and as it's been stated time and time again, that the video recording are the actual minutes, and she did say what was reported by Alderman Massey. I received a phone call from the district office as well, and so I think the minutes should reflect the fact that she was in error in addressing us as citizens to be heard in behalf of the school board.
Any other comments? Vice Mayor?
Just a question. In the minutes, is it reflected that she is a school board member, or is it just reflected as Lisa Parker? Thank you.
Any other discussion? Alderman Owens?
Let me just try and resolve this. Lisa Parker, the minutes read, Lisa Parker, 1761 Leeds Cove, expressed her support of the rezoning. She was not speaking on behalf of the school board. That would be my friendly amendment to this motion.
I'm taking it in. Is that acceptable to Alderman Massey?
I think it needs to reflect that she did not have the authority to speak on behalf of the school board, because if you look at the video, it gives the appearance that Ms. Parker was here to speak on with the authority of the school board, and she didn't have that. So if Alderman Owens wants to make a friendly amendment where it clarifies that Ms. Parker did not actually have the authority to make those representations on behalf of the school board, I'll be glad to accept that. But as written, I don't think it clarifies what she actually said at the meeting, and it is reflected in the video.
Any other discussion on the item? Please call the roll.
Alderman Owens,
So we're acting on the original motion, which is just approval of the minutes, or are we acting on?
On the amendment.
No.
Alderman Yonda,
No.
Alderman Barzizza,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson,
No.
Alderman Massey.
Yes.
There has been a motion brought forward and a second to approve the minutes. Is that correct, Clerk?
The amendment.
Has there been a motion on the minutes for the 12th?
No.
No. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented to the public?
So moved.
Move to approve, or
It's been-
second, whatever you want to
It's
give me.
been motioned by Alderman Owens, seconded by Alderman Yonda. Please call the roll.
Alderman Yonda,
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza,
No.
Vice Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Massey,
No.
Alderman Owens.
Yes.
The minutes have been approved from the 12th of March. That takes us to item number 6 on the agenda, Resolution 18R07, MLK 50. Mr. Lawton,
Yes, Mayor, would you like me to read the resolution, sir?
why
Or
don't you do that? Yeah.
describe, okay. This is a resolution the city prepared in honoring Dr. Martin Luther King. It's something that we had worked on with the Civil Rights Museum. Not only this resolution before you, but as I'd mentioned during the executive session, we're asking all the churches in the area, those who have bells, if they would sound them 39 times in recognition of the man's death at the time of his assassination at 6:01 on April 4th. But Resolution 18R07 reads as following. A resolution of the City of Germantown honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas Dr. King's teachings can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a central figure in the civil rights movement and a leading advocate for nonviolence. Through these efforts, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. And whereas Dr. King had a dream about hatred and injustice and issued an irrevocable decree that challenged the inequities in our society for all people that continues to inspire us today, even though we have a long way to go to fulfill its true meaning. And whereas 50 years ago, on the evening of April 4th, 1968, while standing on the balcony of his hotel room in Memphis, Tennessee, where he was to lead a peaceful protest march with striking garbage workers, he was assassinated. And whereas the City of Germantown's vision and value statement speaks of a culture of kindness, which is a reflection of Dr. King's commitment to confront without violence those who would do him harm, knowing that hatred only begets hatred and violence fans the flames of injustice. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Germantown does proclaim that on this 50th anniversary of his assassination, let us reflect on his words and vision, quote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And consider what each of us can do today to keep his dream alive." Passed and adopted by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Germantown this 26th day of March, 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton. Any questions for staff? And just to reiterate what Mr. Lawton had mentioned, our Council of Faith, which is made up of about 30 of our area pastors and our city chaplain, have committed to our churches here in Germantown that have a bell, and our town clock has a bell as well. Will chime 39 times at 6:01 on April the 4th. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Alderman Barzizza,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Massey,
Yes.
Alderman Owens,
Yes.
Alderman Yonda.
Yes.
The motion carries. The resolution has been adopted. Takes us to item 7. We have several recognition items. Most of those include or are about education this evening. Vice Mayor Mary Ann Gibson will lead us in 5 of those presentations. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. If I can ask members of the Education Commission to come forward, Ms. Mindy Fisher, the chairman, Scott Williams, who has been so kind to write the agenda sheets for us. It is an honor for the Germantown Education Commission to present the March 2018 Teacher of the Month Award to, and if Ms. Shannon Miller will come forward. Ms. Miller is best known for her fireball experiment, and we have many questions on that. She is a popular teacher who inspires 6th graders to love science and learning. A 9-year Riverdale veteran, she also teaches STEM, social studies, and language arts. Ms. Miller works hard to ensure that learning is fun for her students. She spends a great deal of time preparing lessons and organizing classroom activities. Demonstrations, labs, games, and technology are part of her lesson plans and help engage students in learning. She welcomes each student at the door with a big smile each day and encourages collaborative group work so that students encourage each other during their learning. She sets high expectations for her students and always looks for something positive to point out before she helps them realize where they are making a mistake. Through science experiments, her students learn an important life lesson: try again, and never give up. Ms. Miller helps improve the community inside and outside of Riverdale School. She advocates for student growth outside the classroom by serving as student council sponsor and works closely with Make-A-Wish to promote student leadership and service. Through the years, she has also been involved in the Environmental Club, volleyball, summer camps, and tutoring. Ms. Miller served as master teacher at Riverdale for 2 years, learning coach for 2 years, and as grade level chair for 4 of the last 9 years. Outside of school, she is an active member of Trinity Baptist Church, where she leads a small group for high school girls, chaperones trips and plans, and leads events. She has also served the community through work at Alpine Village and mission projects at Brinkley Heights, Baptist Children's Home, and Habitat for Humanity. Today, your award is sponsored by Principal Toyota. Ms. Miller, please accept our appreciation for your commitment to Germantown students and to excellence every day. If I could have Adam Kim come forward, please. Our March 2018 Youth Excellence Award is presented to Adam Kim, a senior at Houston High School. Adam was described to the commission as a Renaissance man, a focused and self-motivated student who has high expectations for himself. He is an excellent student, a National Merit semifinalist, and an AP Scholar with distinction. While at Houston, Adam has taken only honors or advanced placement classes when offered, earning a perfect 4.0 unweighted grade point average. Obviously, he is highly intelligent, but his academic success also stems from self-motivation. Teachers report that once he begins a project, Adam will not stop until it's perfect. His strong academics have earned him membership in Houston's National Honor Society, Beta Club, Rho Kappa Alpha, National Social Studies Honor Society, and the Mu Alpha Theta, National Mathematics Honor Society. In addition to his academic achievements, Adam is an accomplished musician, an environmental advocate, and an extremely caring individual who devotes many hours to service projects. Adam is principal violist, I knew that was going to be the tricky one, violist for the Houston High Orchestra, and has been selected as a member of the All-West Tennessee Orchestra and the All-State Tennessee Orchestra for the past 3 years. Last year, he was chosen for the prestigious Governor's School for the Arts. Adam is president of the Houston International Club, serves as Junior Classical League Consul, and is an important member of the school's Knowledge Bowl team. Through all of these organizations, he has volunteered for many community service projects. On top of all of this, Adam always strives to be green. If it is healthy for him or the world around him, he is on board. During his sophomore year, Adam won first place in a conservation awareness contest. In recognition of his academic excellence and service to his community, Principal Toyota is sponsoring the Germantown Education Commission 2018 in March Germantown Youth Excellence Award to Mr. Adam Kim. And if we could have our first of many Houston High School
I think the call is being made.
The call's
Vice
being
Mayor.
made.
Yes.
Ladies, if you'll just come forward.
If you would like to make a line in the front.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Ladies, if y'all will come forward. And you can spread out. Y'all just stop this way and take up the front. And if you would, face the audience. And your sponsors, if you'll come forward as well. For the audience, if you'll hold your applause until each name is called. The Houston High School cheerleading team exemplifies the Germantown Municipal School District's athletic spirit and prowess. There is no question that competitive cheerleading is a physically demanding sport. The Houston High team incorporates elements of dance, tumbling, and gymnastics to create performance routines. In order to compete at the level that they do each year, they must train extremely hard. The HHS team is no stranger to national victories, and this year is no exception. Those white jackets look awfully nice, ladies. The varsity team won the 2018 Super Varsity National Championship, as well as the 2018 World Championship. Members of the Houston High varsity team include Gracie Allen, Allie Bates, Lauren Burke, Keegan Shalafo, Carson Childress, Michaela Hartzell, Delaney Hayes, Macy Jobes, Caroline Jones, Brooke Lawson, Kennedy Kuhn, Liza Leslie, Madeline Lewis, Melina Long, Neely McKinster, Taylor Mills, Abby Malahi, Addie Newby, Emma Neisel, Anderson Pear, that would be Perry, sorry, Jocelyn Premisas, Abby Grace Rogers, Olivia Scaramastro, Madeline Sells, Hattie Williamson, and Kayla Yancey. Congratulations. And ladies, I think that you will actually have to be dismissed because there's no way for the new folks to come in.
Did all the teams assemble at one time, or is this just?
Okay, good.
Those varsity names that were just called, raise your hand so we can see who you
Thank
are and the
you.
crowd can see who you are.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the direction. And so when your names are called, and when we get to you, if you would just raise your hand, that way we can make sure we know who you are. The Houston High School JV cheerleading team has been quite busy this year. There's no question that competitive cheerleading, again, is a physically demanding sport. Aside from training, the squad also cheers for the school's football team and volunteers at various community events, such as the Germantown Festival and Oktoberfest. To round out their busy season, the HHS JV team won the 2018 World School Championship and earned second place in the National JV Non-Tumbling Competition. Members of the Houston High School JV cheerleading team include Ashlyn Bialowitz, Sydney Caldwell, Morgan Davis, Caitlin Dozier, Paige Foster, Ashton Gary, Caroline Grisanti, Katie Grusin, Maddie Hines, Audrey Hill, Abby Lamberth, Olivia Litvin, Gracie McKinster, Sophia Nip, Jordan Oxendine, Jada Phillips, Elizabeth Reentz, Kendall Soren, Lauren Swiger, Caitlin Williamson, Josie Woody, Katie Upton, and Addie Williams. Congratulations again, ladies. Thank you, ladies.
Say anything? Sponsor? Yes, coach? No? No? If you, oh, okay. Coach, do you want to say anything? You got it? Oh, well, hey, thank you for the championships. Houston Middle? Yeah.
Our Houston Middle, is everyone up here? Coach, y'all are here? Exactly, no problem. The Germantown Municipal School District's Houston Middle School cheerleading team has had another busy year. In addition to cheering for the school's basketball teams, the squad participated in the Germantown Festival, the St. Jude Walk Run to End Childhood Cancer, and Oktoberfest. Rounding out the season, the team headed to Orlando where they won the junior high division of the 2018 National High School Cheerleading Championship, followed by a second-place win at the World School Cheer Competition. Congratulations. Members of the Houston Middle School cheerleading team include Adley Aaron, Marina Bailey, and ladies, if you will, just hold your hand up so we'll know who you are, Meredith Bronson, Elizabeth Burke, Caroline Campbell, Madison Carey, Jordan Causey, Ava Kate Christopher, Emma Davis, Emily Earhart, Hannah Griffin, Savannah Hardin, Isabel Hirsch, Emma Johnson, Avery Kilpatrick, Ava Leslie, Sophie Lewis, Miller McKinster, Caroline Nunnery, Anna Thomas Pate, Caroline Reardon, Erin Remork, Eason Seacrest, Cameron Tilley, Anna Vaughn, Anna Claire Wesky, Gabby West, and Virginia Williams. Congratulations, ladies. And Coach, we look forward to next year.
Vice Mayor, well done. Catch your breath, get a drink. We congratulate all the award winners this evening, and we have actually one more recognition this evening under our special recognition. That's our Waste Pro Driver Safety Driver of the Year. At least it will be the driver for the year when he gets his check here in a moment. Mr. Nunes?
Mayor and Board, Waste Pro, as you know, has been the solid waste collection contractor for almost 2 years in the city of Germantown, and they set high standards for both customer service and driver safety. In fact, Waste Pro has a program within their organization to reward such performance, including driver safety. And Mr. Reginald Simmons, who has been a driver in the city of Germantown on the recycling route and driving other trucks. In addition, he has participated in our city events, including driving in the city's holiday parade and also attending our Touch a Truck event, which I guess is coming up here again soon. And then as far as the driver safety program, which of course is critical as they drive the streets in our city every day, the Waste Pro has a program that emphasizes not only driver safety, but in their team meetings, in their performance appraisals, and other city functions. As part of that program, after 3 years of exceptional performance, Mr. Simmons is receiving a $10,000 check from Waste Pro for that.
Reginald, you got a check. The only thing I got is proclamation. And from a mayor that had to put up with a year of awful comments from our last provider, I'm giving you a hug.
And Mayor, as you come forward, I know, Reggie, can I just say one thing? I actually toured your facility with Mr. Vickery months ago, years ago now, and this was mentioned that this was an incentive for the employees, and I thought, I'm just not sure if that's even attainable, and sure enough. So well done you, and thank you again for coming back to us during our parade and Touch a Truck. You're a fan favorite. Thank you.
Brings us to item number 8 on the agenda this evening, Alderman liaison reports. We go from Alderman position 1 through 5. Alderman Barzizza.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Senior Advisory Commission, I just have one comment that I'm going to be making. On April the 12th at 9:30 at the Pickering Center, the Alzheimer's and Dementia workshop will be held. And if anybody wants to participate, please call 757-7375 to secure your spot, and lunch will be provided. That's my report.
Thank you, Alderman. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. The Library Board would report that they had a very successful book drive. Over 31,000 books were received by area schools. The Friends of the Library, they provided gifts to the teachers who brought in the most books, and special recognition was made there. Daniel Page would say that the summer reading is in full swing, and they will be encouraging children to come into the library, as well as pull things from online categories as well. Education Commission, they are preparing for the Education Celebration on April 26th. We will have a speaker prior to awarding the new Teacher of the Year, the Marjorie Reapy Teacher of the Year, and the Student of the Year. And that's my report, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Alderman Massey?
The only comments I have tonight are for the Public Safety Education Commission. I want to remind everyone that we will have Safety City going on June 11th through the 15th. We invite children to come out and participate. We still need volunteers to help us as well. The class lasts from about 8 o'clock to 12:30. If you want your child to participate, please call Lieutenant Ed McGee at 757-7349. There'll be a variety of topics that are covered everywhere, everything from fires, animals, weather, bicycles, guns, pools, pedestrian crossings, cars, seat belts, boats, and different things that a child might be able to get into in the home. So again, please call Lieutenant Ed McGee at 757-7349 if you're interested in volunteering or if your child would like to participate this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Owens?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, on March 22nd last week, the Parks and Recreation Commission met and approved a preliminary plan for Farmington Park and the playground renovation. Based on feedback from the community survey, a number of changes were proposed, and the commission continues to work with citizens to advance this project.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Yonda?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Financial Advisory Commission met on Tuesday, March the 20th. The enterprise funds were discussed. That would be the Stormwater Fund, the Utility Fund, the Sanitation Fund, the Germantown Athletic Club Fund, the Great Hall and Conference Center. These are funds that need to break even, or at least try to, with fees and charges. It was presented by the staff. Questions were asked by the commissioners, and all were approved and recommended to the BMA by the FAC, which is the Financial Advisory Commission. The BMA is the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I'm sorry, we use those TL2s or whatever they are, TL3s. The Personnel Advisory Commission met on March 21st. The Human Resources staff presented the results of our compensation and classification consultant regarding competitive pay ranges and a merit pay pool for staff pay increases in FY19. Following discussion of the shared experiences among fellow commission members, a motion carried to accept the consultant's recommendations and forward it to the city administrator for further consideration by the Financial Advisory Commission and, of course, ultimately by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. And quickly from the mayor's office, just wanted to say thank you to our GPAC Guild. I think our Mr. Chandler's here tonight. If you would please thank those ladies on behalf of our policemen, firefighters, and our first responders for putting together a great meal last Monday. Greatly appreciated. Also, on the 17th of March, on a Saturday, we got an email from our chairman of our Economic Development Commission, Jerry Klein, and he wanted to make sure that we were aware. Then I'll just read his email. On the 17th, the EDC staff had an off-site workshop at the village at Germantown. Of our 11 members on the commission, we had 8 members present, plus Cameron Ross and Marie Lesko. Just want to let you know that these two really worked hard to make this work, and I think it did. They really knocked themselves out on that Saturday morning from 8 to noon. I just wanted you to know. I'd like to think that every employee of the city has the same work ethic as those two people. Cameron Ross is our Community and Economic Development Director, and Marie is our Economic Development Officer. So thank you, and make sure Marie understands that as well. That concludes Alderman liaison reports. That brings us to item number 9 on the agenda, citizens to be heard. We have a pretty good stack of sheets this evening. We'll be glad to listen to all of those. I will say that primarily every sheet that was filled out is in regards to item 15 on the agenda that was deferred for 2 weeks. I will call your name. If you'd like to come forward, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you'd like to pass, we will also have a meeting where that item will be on the agenda. It is your call completely. First person is Brian Curry. If you'd like to come forward, you'll have 3 minutes to speak to the board. Just your name. We do have it, and you write well, so we can decipher it.
My name is Brian Curry. Our 2017 appraisal of our area might
Turn your microphone on, or get closer to it. Is the red button on?
It is now, sorry. Okay. Our 2017 appraisal of our area on Forest Hill, Irene, which I looked at the corridor just to Forest Hill, Irene, south of Mesquite Chop House, not including the property in question, the Reeve Schaefer property or the school site, all the way down to Winchester. Our appraisal in 2017 was $85,012,400. We paid taxes in the amount of $418,686.07, which pays for most of the city salaries in this room. Our per parcel amount is $659,010, and that places us among the highest in the city. However, it feels like our area is completely under attack. As stakeholders in the city, clearly we are deeply invested in the city, but it feels like it's been one thing after the other coming at us. The latest example of this is an item that you're actually going to be discussing on Wednesday in your work session, and this is a proposal for a water main for an elevated tower east of the new school. A capital improvement, a CIP project is in place to construct a new 250,000-gallon elevated tank just east of the new school on the parkland in FY 2020. It is imperative that we bring the 24-inch water main from the right-of-way of Forest Hill to the site to supply the tower while the school infrastructure is under construction. The new school is to come online in August 2019. The purpose of this project is to lay 1,350 linear feet of 24-inch water main to serve the new elevated tower. You're also, as a city, going to spend $243,100 of your reserves on this. First off, this is a complete lack of communication. What water tower? What parkland? Why wasn't a water tower included in the site plan for the school site? There was no mention of a water tower. There was a bullet point that said it could be a good site for a water tower, but there was no water tower on any drawing that we saw. Why hasn't this been thoroughly discussed with the neighbors? This is a huge thing. You're about to drop a water tower in a neighborhood full of million-dollar homes. That just seems like lunacy to me. When were you planning on discussing with us? Because it sounds like the plans are already in motion and you're going to come to us and say, oh, if you want to give us feedback on the water tower, here you go. But those plans are already set. We have it on paper. This is what the city's planning on doing here. What other site would you have selected for a water tower had the school not been placed there? Clearly this has been thought about, but what other site was the city looking at? And why wasn't that site being considered, or why? It just seems like the decision's been made that this is what we're going to go with here. And again, why would the city place a water tower in a residential neighborhood? It's one thing with the neighborhoods around the water tower that are currently in the city because the water tower was there first and they built the homes. Great. But when you already have homes that are established, why in the world would you drop a water tower in literally people's backyard? It will be in our backyard. I know we have a plan that we're following in the city. I understand that. And we're going to follow the plan. But not all plans are good. If I told you that I had a plan to stop by and rob Whole Foods on the way home, and I don't, Chief, but if I told you I had a plan to stop by and rob Whole Foods on the way home, that would not be a good plan, right? You would say, that's a bad plan, don't do it. But, ultimately that would be my call. Just because the city has a plan doesn't mean that if you haven't discussed it with your stakeholders, it doesn't mean that it's a good plan. So we are just urging you to listen to those of us that live here, that are invested in our community. Listen to us, and please consider what we have to tell you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Danielle Taylor. Please come forward and just state your name and address. We don't need the zip code.
Okay. My name is Danielle Taylor. My address is 3349 Forest Hill Irene Road, and I would like my comments on the record, please. The rezoning of the Reeves Schaefer property will impact my family because we reside directly across the street. We have nothing personal against Mr. Duke, but if you rezone this area to R, his development plan will affect my family and my community. What troubles us is that 1/3 of the lots could be much smaller than 15,000 square foot minimums. In the very short time this project has come to light, the plan has changed many times, so we are not confident in what will actually occur. If he were offering 40 to 60, 18,000 square foot lots similar to Maplewood or the new Cheatham development, we wouldn't be as up in arms as a community. His various plans ranging from 82 to 117 lots would make for a more densely populated area that was originally promised to remain estate lots. Time and time again, some city officials claim that this type of neighborhood is needed for the new school. Have you been to Schilling Farms neighborhood, where there's a school right in the middle of the neighborhood, a neighborhood of 0 lots, one on top of the other, a neighborhood where you can look out your kitchen window and see your neighbors getting dressed? Have you checked the data? When I lived in Schilling Farms from 2009 to 2017, there were 3 children in Collierville schools. The students that attend this school did not live in this type of neighborhood because it is better suited for retirees or single adults. Our schools are bursting at the seams currently. We already have our student population for this new school in overcrowded classrooms all over Germantown. We don't need a neighborhood for them. We need classrooms. Why build a dense neighborhood to bring in more students from other areas? As a result of all these developments, let's talk about the water tower said to be needed. At what point were we as a community going to be included in this decision? None of my community members bought homes in this area to look at water towers or massively widened roads, heavy traffic, apartments, carpool lanes, have our natural creeks flooded and eroded by neglectful city workers, draining a lake to make room for a school so that developers could build PUD homes to create more revenue. For those of you that vote on this, what if this was your community? A community you invested in because the city promised to keep estate zoning. Then city officials began the process of rezoning so developers could make the decisions on how your community was developed. Would you stand by and allow this to happen, or would you be standing up here with me for your 3 minutes to protect your investment? I will close with this. I have quickly had to learn how politics work in this city since moving here in October. Quite frankly, I'm appalled. In my opinion, there are 2 aldermen up here that truly care for the citizens facing this issue. You can see it in their body language, their compassion on the topics that affect our community, their response to our emails, letters, calls, and concerns. If I have learned anything through this process, it is who will have my vote in November and who will not. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Taylor, please. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Alan Taylor, 3349 Forest Hill, Irene. How do I follow that? In 2009, my wife and I moved back with our children back to Memphis after my training in emergency medicine. I work at Methodist University downtown. However, rather than work close to that, we chose to move far out outside of the densely populated Memphis area. We actually moved to Collierville first, where shortly after they began building large apartment, multi-family homes directly across from us. With that, we decided to move again to a heavily wooded estate lot on Forest Hill, Irene, that she spoke of. We moved there for the copious trees, the sounds of frogs, the crickets, the bright stars unobscured by city lighting and water towers. It was a place for our children to explore nature. Shortly after, we began to watch the rape of the mature trees out of a front window. The lake was drained through our property without care for our property whatsoever. Even at one point, a dead beaver, a mature beaver, a carcass was directly in front of my house due to the slash and burn clearing of the Forest Hill, that ironically named Forest Hill now. We attended the last city council meeting late in the game because we had just found out about it. We went back because there weren't enough people that were aware of it. We got all our neighbors involved, and it was just appalling how few people were actually notified of this, of all these projects directly across from them. We gathered on the 22nd, we had a large gathering at our house of these citizens, voting citizens, to call attention to this. No one was aware of the detail of this. The school, which is meant to alleviate school overcrowding, is going to be surrounded by the Reeves Schaefer property, the Cheatham property, the Watermark apartment, the Goodwin Farms, the Viridian. Those are 894 units, not to mention the 82 and 34 houses. How do these alleviate crowding in the schools? Have you learned nothing from Cordova or Hickory Hill? Just drive down Winchester a little bit further west, and you can see the potential future consequences of your present actions, these hasty and greedy actions. The voting citizens that are becoming aware of this urban expansion without checks and balances are amassing
15
like a
seconds.
snowball. Come election time, we will all be there, and we will remember. Is it any wonder that the citizens are beginning to file lawsuits against the city of Germantown? Germantown City Council members, you guys are entrusted to carry out the will of the people, not subvert and ignore its pleas to listen. We will not stand for plausible deniability in
Please
our
conclude your comments,
representation.
sir.
We've had enough of your broken promises.
Thank you. Kevin Speed, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Kevin Speed, 9181 Forest Downs, Germantown, Tennessee. Hello, good to see y'all. I usually just get up here and ad lib, but tonight I printed it off to avoid the ramble. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'd first like to say that a lot of good things come from the board decisions made up here to Germantown, and we all thank you for that. There's a lot of good. I mean, we're not here to complain all the time. It just seems like it feels like that sometimes when we're up here. But I think you get the gist of the attitude of the people and what we're seeing going on in Germantown and what we'd like to see changed. So with that, I'm going to read this. You know, we've all heard the old saying that too much of a good thing can be bad for you. Well, many of the citizens of Germantown have reached that point when it comes to overdevelopment and density in Germantown. We feel there's been too much too fast, and most of it comes despite the opposition from the citizens, and most of it's coming in the name of smart growth. Ask the people of the Nottoway subdivision how they feel about smart growth. Now that they have a 6-story office tower in their backyard, or the fact that they look out their window to see the back of a parking garage, I'll bet you they're not too happy with smart growth. When they purchased their properties, there were height restrictions. Or ask the people of Germantown North how they feel about smart growth as it relates to the density at Thornwood. They're not happy with more apartments, and they're not happy with smart growth. Ask the people of Germantown Heights how they feel about smart growth as it relates to the Triangle and the density that will come when more apartments and commercial buildings are built there in the name of smart growth. They are not happy with smart growth. Or ask the people of the Vining subdivision on Winchester how they feel about the 310-unit Watermark apartments that have been approved right across the street from their homes. Ask them how they feel about the density of 17 apartment units per acre, which is almost double what the original city plan called for. It's the city's own plan. And now they're having to bring a lawsuit against the city just to get what they were promised. Not that happy with density and smart growth. You can ask the people of the Crestwind subdivision how they feel about the zoning changes and the density. They were promised the land around them would remain zoned 1-acre estate. Now it's been rezoned to R against their wishes, and more than 230 starter homes are soon to be built next door, butted up against their estate lots. And to add insult to injury, the traffic will be rerouted to allow these new homeowners to access Winchester by driving through their neighborhoods, which was previously a dead-end street. Look what rezoning did for them. They're not happy with rezoning. Ask the people how they feel about the 380-unit Viridian apartment complex dropped into a new smart growth zone that was promised to be remain a state lot. They're not happy with smart growth. Ask the people of Forest Hill, Irene, how they feel about the density that rezoning the Reeves Schaefer property from estate lots down to R will bring to their area. We are also promised that estate zoning would remain in place many years ago. Well, when I bring this up, I've been told that politicians make promises they can't keep, and we don't have it in writing. But now maybe we do have it in writing. We know how this vote's going to go. It's 3-2, like most all the others. This was decided long before tonight.
Please conclude your comments.
Well, I'll remind you that Mr. Duke got 13 and a half minutes last week, and I have one more 30 seconds.
Please conclude your comments.
In closing, I would like to remind the board, the people of Germantown have seen smart growth and they don't like it. I would also like to remind the board that the people of Germantown are no longer in the dark. We're well connected, we're well funded, and we're armed, not with guns, but with passion and determination to see this smart growth come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon Welford. There we go. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Brandon Welford, 3366 Hollow Creek Road. My neighborhood is adjacent to the proposed development between the new elementary school and the railroad tracks. First, I'm in favor of this site being developed with the existing zoning of 1 house per acre. A development with 1 house per acre is consistent with the rest of the neighborhoods along Forest Hill Irene and would be a good neighborhood next to the new school. Over the last 10 years, quite a few homes have been built on 1 acre lots in this area. There is demand for 1 acre lots despite what you've been told, and it is attractive for families to have options for this size lot when most of the other properties in Germantown are on smaller lots. When we moved to Germantown in 2004, we looked for a lot with at least 1 acre of land, and this area was one of the few places in the greater area that had homes with larger lots. Please maintain the integrity of this area with larger lots. The presence of the school does not dictate the need for a dense development. Now we are learning that the city is proposing to put a water tower behind the school because of all the dense developments that are being approved. Please say no to this. In fact, when we had a neighborhood meeting, the developer said he was against having the water tower in that location as well. At the last meeting, the developer showed pictures of our neighborhood and said that we don't have street lights, which makes it unsafe. We like this area because it doesn't have street lights, and we can still see the stars at night, unlike the neighborhoods that are full of street lights. If street lights result in safe neighborhoods, the city of Memphis should be the safest city in Shelby County. The developer is asking for a rezoning to 15,000 square foot lots today, but just remember, this is just a step towards a PUD with 6,000 square foot lots. Please say no. Believe it or not, not everybody who is here tonight that's against this is going to speak, but I would ask that everybody that is opposed to this dense development stand up. Be recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welford. Jan Kessling. Ms. Kessling, if you come forward and state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
I'm Jan Kissling. I live at 9229 Forest Hill Way. Pardon?
Is the red light on?
No, there.
There you go. Just talking to the mic.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
Jan Kissling. I live at 9229 Forest Hill Way. I was born in Memphis, and all my life, I heard that Germantown was the place to live. It was known as horse country. There was land to build on, but with tight restrictions, sign ordinances, and most important, attractive zoning ordinances. Germantown offered safety, privacy with estate-sized lots, and good schools. It was country living at its best. I spent many years in the Washington, D.C., Virginia area in school, getting a good education, then returned to Memphis to start my career. I knew I wanted to live in Germantown. My husband and I began looking for land to build our dream house on, as we had worked hard and now could afford to live here. That was over 30 years ago. Since, we've had the privacy we wanted, security, never feeling the need to lock our doors or turn on our security system. I had chickens, peacocks, ducks in a pond, deer, my dogs, and an occasional coyote or fox. I called it my farmette. I cherished the old oak trees and actually protected a new little twig that I thought one day might be a nice tree. And now there are those who want to change Germantown. And I ask, why would anyone want to destroy what we have now? And more importantly, try to change it without considering what the longtime tax-paying residents want. I can see the necessity for a school, but that does not require, nor is it necessary, for zoning changes, and certainly not high-density housing. We have built our lives around estate-sized lots and want estate-sized neighbors. Why not keep the character of the community and focus on making our city even more attractive? And that does not mean a water tower, but maybe like getting rid of the power lines by putting them underground and therefore not having to butcher the trees to protect them.
15 seconds.
But then that would be another 3 minutes. So I am very much opposed to the new zoning.
Thank you, ma'am. Lillian Rinker, if you could come forth and say, or pronounce your name, I may have mispronounced it, and state your address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Lillian Rinker. My address is 9150 Forest Hill Way, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. My family and I have lived on Forest Hill Way for more than 10 years and in Germantown for more than 20. We moved to Forest Hill Way because, like many of my neighbors and friends have said, the quiet neighborhood, beautiful property, safety, peace and quiet, kind neighbors, and large yards where our children could run and play. And I'll echo my neighbor. We have deer, foxes, red hawks, there's all kinds of beautiful wildlife that we don't want to see disappear. My husband and I have worked very hard to be successful enough to move to this area. We are ordinarily very proud to live in this area. We have been very happy here and always thought we could trust our elected officials in Germantown. We thought that our best interests would be at the heart of every decision made here. Unfortunately, I'm now worried for the first time in 20 years that I may be wrong, and I'm worried I may be disappointed. I'm an educator, a physician, and I support education wholeheartedly. I expect that all Germantown children have the right to a good education, and I understand that other Germantown schools are overcrowded. As such, I support the new elementary school. I'm sorry to see my woods disappear, but the children are very important as well. However, I'm unhappy at the Germantown City attempt at rezoning my neighborhood from our estate lots to PUD zoning. I'm worried there will be many more small lots and homes, large apartment buildings, and a huge increase in the population density. And I really don't appreciate the lack of transparency. Because of this huge increase in population density, Germantown may now need to build this water tower in order to have enough water pressure to accommodate the new apartments and homes and people. I'm afraid the water tower will be quite an eyesore, as will the large apartment buildings. And turning our 2-lane Forest Hill Irene into a 5-lane freeway will create a new danger for our children, not to mention more accidents, congestion problems, and headaches for the neighborhood. No longer will we have our quiet, friendly neighborhood. There will be so many new homes and people that the new elementary school will have outgrown itself by the time it opens. There will be an inevitable drop in our property values, as we currently are an estate neighborhood. There will be huge increases in I I'm afraid ultimately an increase in crime in the area. I I have heard that the fire department considered proposed homes to be so close together that they might not even be able to get their equipment in to fight fires.
15 seconds, ma'am.
There's a conflict of interest here. I believe that Germantown will create many opportunities for financial gain for developers and real estate agents, but at my expense, my children's expense, my neighbor's expense. This is not fair or acceptable. On display is a wanton disregard for my family's and my neighbors' well-being, our quality of life, our property values, and our hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Penelope Pippin, please come forward. Are you still here in attendance? Like to pass if you're still here? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes. You may have to adjust the microphone down a little bit. There.
Thank you. I am Penelope Pippin, or just call me Penny Pippin, and I live at 3569 Crestwin. In 2009, my husband and I purchased our home at 3569 Crestwin Drive so we could be close to our daughter and son-in-law who live on Hollow Creek Road near the end of Forest Downs. We can walk there just about 5 blocks or drive there about 1.8 miles. When purchasing, we were led to believe that these quiet neighborhoods were zoned with large residential lots and would remain low-density population. Why, other than profit for the builder, are you changing the quality of the lives of these residents? Why do we have to give up little traffic on our streets? Streets where children safely ride bikes and scooters. Families walk their baby carriages, also their special pets, where one can clear one's mind while walking after a busy day at work. Why should the profit of one be allowed to take away this precious quality of life for we, the people? Tax-paying we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pippin. Ted Pippin, please come forward. State your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
3 minutes. The old professor in me, when I hear the bell, I was normally good for an hour. I'll try to be brief.
Thank you.
We live at 3569 Crestwin in Germantown. We came to Germantown after we received a call from our daughter telling us that Memphis men always come home. They were in Washington, D.C., and were moving to Germantown. I had retired from the university, and it was clear that we wanted to be closer to our children. So we moved to Germantown, and when we got to Germantown, we looked around the areas of Germantown to see where we'd be close to our family and where we'd have some open area around us. And one of the things we did is we looked at all of the property that was surrounding us and saw that it was all zoned to be big lots. It would be low population density. That region had just been annexed very recently by the city of Germantown, with promises made that the lots would remain large. What this group has managed to do in the meanwhile, if we look to the east of us, we have on the books now developments that have 5-foot lot lines from the house. You have passed regulations that you don't have to give notifications if it's over, unless it's within 300 feet. most of the houses in that area, the lot line to the house is more than 300 feet. Totally ridiculous. In fact, if you want to know what it is, it's something that's called bait and switch. It's a practice that has been practiced for centuries. An illegal practice. Declared illegal by many courts in the United States, illegal in Europe, severe punishments in many countries of the world for people that practice it. I think you ought to listen very carefully to what you're considering. Point number one. Point number two, in sitting through your meetings, I haven't seen any cost-benefit analysis.
15 seconds, sir.
Just another minute, please.
15 seconds. Continue. Continue.
Thank you. The only cost-benefit analysis I've heard is from a developer. He said it was to his advantage to have smaller lots. I haven't seen any cost-benefit analysis provided by the city. What's going to happen to the taxes in the area, what's going to happen to the degradation of the property in the area in terms of the tax revenue that's coming in, and what the expenses are going to be. I think you owe that to the citizens of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ola Adelaide, if you would come forward, please, and state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thanks for having me. My name is Ola Adelaide, and I live at 8960 Hollowbrook Lane North in Germantown. In 2007, my husband and I, we bought a 1-acre lot out on Hollowbrook Lane, and we built our dream home. We moved from Collierville. We saw what was happening to Collierville, and that's not what we wanted for ourselves. So we worked hard, and we bought the lot, and we built our dream home, like I said. We've lived in Germantown for over 10 years now. We love Germantown because of its ambience, larger lots, and serenity. When we first moved out to Germantown, when I walk in the morning, I walk with my deers. But all life is disappearing, wildlife is disappearing in Germantown. Before we moved to Germantown, we did our homework and was told that this area has an agreement with the city when it was annexed that it would remain C2/RE1. Now the city is trying to rezone to R, and I'm opposed to it because this is not what I signed up for. Secondly, there's lack of communication with the citizens in the neighborhood regarding issues like roads, accessibility, and installing a water tower in our backyard. This is completely unacceptable to us. I would like you to know that properties at the Forest Irene Corridor, or like I call it, seems to generate lots of revenue for the city. This is why I find it absurd that it appears that the city is trying to stick it to us. This part of town is generating a substantial amount of income for the city, and I do not understand why you will do things like that to people who are generating income for the city. So that's what I wanted to express tonight, that you all need to listen to the people that vote for you, because November is coming really soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord. Phil Connor, if you could come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. Phil Connor, 3664 Crestwind Drive, Germantown. Mayor, Vice Mayor Gibson, Alderman, I'm going to divide my comments into 2 parts. The second part I hadn't planned to speak on, but I'm going to give up my normal time to talk about something. But first, the first half, and if you would record my comments for the record, please. I'm going to read something from a staff meeting that occurred in November of 2017. City staff TAC comments about Forest Hill Heights Apartments. Now, there are 3 apartment units that have been discussed for that area: the Watermark, the Viridian, and the Park. So keeping that in mind, let's listen. As far as the park is concerned, not much is to be said other than it does not really fit with the plan for the area. But then, the other apartment projects, Watermark and Viridian, do not either, which is disappointing. Response from the economic development staff: I too am frustrated with the lack of conformance by the proposed projects. Now, my question is, that was in November of 17. Why were these comments not heard at our meeting on December 11th? Well, sadly, I think we know why. And that's where I'm going to leave that. And Madam, if you did not record my comments word for word on the first part, I have something that concerns each one of us and is deeply troubling. For years, we've faced each other, but we've always accorded each other respect, never disparaged each other, from us to you and you to us. So I am going to mention something because one of the people this affects will not. He has too much class to do this. A public email on the official email of Germantown recently, March 21st, from our city administrator to our mayor, referred to one of our aldermen as stupid and clueless. Extremely disappointing.
15 seconds, sir.
Can we not disagree without being disagreeable? Do we have to disparage one another? That's crossing the line. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor, Alderman, I leave that in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sharon Miller, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak to the board.
Sharon Canada Miller, 8985 Hollybrook Lane, 38138. I want my comments to be recorded word for word. What happens to a community when some elected officials seem to value the opinions of developers over residents, i.e. current taxpayers and voters? My family and I relocated to Tennessee June 2016, and within that time we witnessed unprecedented approved developments in the Forest Hill community. For example, we go from a 2-lane, tree-lined road to a proposed 5-lane highway. As many of you already know, across the street from my subdivision, Forest Brook, construction will start soon on the new elementary school to ease the current school overcrowding. Also on that same property, the administrative building will be there as well. As if that wasn't enough, we will receive a brand new water tower to ease the water pressure problem from all of the new developments in our area. The city of Germantown has not mentioned this, has not mentioned that we would even need a water tower, and the lack of transparency by the city officials is troubling. The proposed 100+ homes being offered with the Reeve-Schaefer project are on smaller lots and do not mirror the existing properties in the Forest Hill area. For my family, we selected the city of Germantown because it is like other suburban areas we've lived in past areas across the US and Canada. It provides a low-density oasis amid surrounding higher-density cities. When proposed developments in our area aren't for the benefit of the community at large, but for the financial enrichment of developers, I have a problem with that. That's not why I moved to Germantown. I say vote no to the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Radecki, please come forward. Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thanks for giving us the time to talk today. I want my comments on the record. The word.
Just state your name and address.
Sorry,
please.
Stephen Radke, 9027 Hollybrook Lane South.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you guys getting a theme? You understanding the theme? We all moved to this area. We actually just moved this last August. We were looking for a yard. We were looking for lots to actually for the kids to play with and the dogs to have and all that stuff, and the dogs to be outside. You can't find that in Germantown. For what we were looking for, we couldn't find a yard. We actually finally found it in this neighborhood, and we love it. Everybody does. When people come to our area to visit, I actually coach for baseball, they come and they go, wow, you guys have a yard. You know what their next statement is? We can't afford that. They can't afford a yard. They're not talking about the house. They can't afford grass in Germantown. That is why this area is special. I wasn't here for the last meeting. I actually watched the entire meeting on YouTube. I saw the proposal. You know, some people are actually open for some change. But I'll tell you what, we have seen multiple proposals. We have seen a lack of transparency that you guys are willing to vote on when we don't even know what the development even looks like right now. I ask that we actually, before we even vote, we understand that what Mr. Dukes is proposing. We have a 66 house proposal. We have an 88 house proposal. We have a 117 house proposal. What's going on over there? So before a vote is even thinking about rezoning, let's find out what's going on. Someone said cost-benefit analysis. That'd be a really great idea because someone has to explain to me how doubling the houses, the traffic, eliminating yards, and actually I should go back a step. I went and actually read your Germantown Forward 2030. That's impressive. It looks great. That's one of the reasons why we moved here. When we moved from the Cleveland area, we knew that we wanted to be in Germantown. We knew the schools were great. We knew everything was going on. We knew that the community is an excellent community. But you guys talk about natural resources and wellness. How does doubling houses and traffic and eliminating yards and all that improve natural resources and wellness in the community? It doesn't add up. None of it adds up. Until I got to land use and transportation. And then I got to strategic objectives. The schools are overcrowded, minimizing lots and mass-producing houses doesn't make sense. But what makes sense to me is it's stated in the last meeting that was not a factor by somebody, but it's a key performance indicator in your only Forward 2013, in your Germantown Forward 2030, sorry. Property tax revenue from smart growth areas is a key performance indicator. And that's about the only thing that this looks like, is that we're trying to generate tax revenue.
15 seconds.
In conclusion, we need transparency. You've heard that all day today. This process and our leaders, we're failing in this regard because none of us have heard this stuff. And no matter how many times you guys tell us 1 + 1 + 1 = 4, we know it doesn't. We're seeing what's going on, and I'll tell you, you can tell we're mobilized right now. So we understand. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Frank or Beverly Booker?
Mr. Mayor, my wife is here, Beverly. I know she has 3 minutes also. She would like to put it in my hands, so that I take the full 6 minutes.
That'll be acceptable. Go ahead.
My name is Frank Booker. I live at 9030 Bridge Forest Drive over here in Germantown. Been here about 5 years. Guys, Germantown is a very, very prestigious place to live. I'm just going to throw it out there. Everybody hears about it. I have had the experience of flying all over the world, from New Delhi to Dubai, Japan, Shanghai, Los Angeles, Seattle, Washington. Okay? I've been there. Everybody knows about Germantown. I'm just going to throw it out there. It's a very prestigious place to live. Okay? The only problem is the saturation that we're getting. All of these people here is just a small portion of what is out in Germantown and is concerned about the Forest Hill Irene area. I mean, that's it. I know November's coming. I'm not concerned about that. That'll take care of itself. What I'm concerned about is a few things, and one of them is zero lots. Back in the day, we called them shotgun houses. I mean, that's it. They're going to be up against the railroad tracks, from what I understand. You have homes on Poplar Pike that are right up against the railroad tracks, and they've been empty for 5 years. They can't give them away. How are you going to sell these, and then what are you going to sell them for? I have $1 million plus home. I paid close to $20,000 a year in property taxes. You've got a school coming in, parking. I figure the school's going to take, what, 5, 6, 7,000 people? You have parking for maybe 300. What about the other 4,500? Where are they going to park? When they come to pick up their kids, this is pre-K 1 through 6, where are they going to park to pick up their kids? Right now on Dogwood, they're on the street, right on the main street, trying to wait in line to pick up their kids. Are we going to expect that on Forest Hill Irene? That'll go all the way past Winchester and all the way past Poplar Pike. Lines of cars just waiting to get into school. You guys made a plan for that? I don't know. And just for me, just for a show of hands up here, how many of you guys live in the Forest Hill Irene area? Anybody besides myself and these folks here? Anybody got a vested interest in Forest Hill Irene area besides us here? Because I'm just asking. I just ask questions, and people tend to squirm. So this is the problem that I have. We're here because we have a vested interest in the neighborhood. It means a lot to us. I moved here from, God knows, I could have commuted from Japan, but I chose Forest Hill Irene. It's a very prestigious place, okay? And I see a degradation of what's going on, and I know you guys are in control of it. I know you guys vote. You're in charge of our lives. That's why we put you in these positions. But at the same time, you got to have some concern about what is going on with us. And if you don't live in the area, I have a hard time thinking that you're going to be behind me and the guys here because you have no vested interest. And that's what concerns me, and that's why we're here tonight. Everybody is suspect, and we're putting our lives in your hands because we are trusting you to do the right thing to cover us. That's what the seat does. That's why you guys are here. That's a responsibility that we put in your hands. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of questions and a lot of fear. And you guys, if you got something that we don't know about, you need to put the word out. Because everybody's scared to death, and we have a vested interest. I'm retired. I'm not going anywhere, okay? I'm here for the long haul. So if there's something going on and nobody knows, tell us so we can make the proper adjustments, the votes when it comes in November. I want to see you guys here again. I want you guys to do the right thing. I don't want to see you guys go away. I think you guys are a great group of people. But so are these people. They're scared. And they need the support that you guys can offer, okay? That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Michael Doyle, please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Michael Doyle, 9145 Forest Downs. You know, I'm up here, and I could say a lot about everything that was said tonight. But I have to agree with everyone that spoke here tonight. I mean, we're all concerned about the same things. I've had good conversations with a few of the aldermen. It appears that this is obviously a very divided group. The mayor seems to have 3 people on his team, and Mr. Barzizi and Mr. Massey are not against him. But, you know, I mean, the school was one thing, and I supported the school. I felt it should have went on Winchester where it belonged, but once again, we got the problem with all the roads, the traffic, the high density. I mean, what all is going to become of this? You already have school overcrowding. Now you want to put these 0 lot lines in. When my wife and I moved here, we looked at Germantown because we have very spacious 2-acre lot, you know, in a beautiful home. We were told at the time, because it came up with the real estate agent, and she told us that it was promised back in 2010 or 11 when this area got annexed that we're talking about, that it would never go to rezoning because the government of Germantown said, let us rezone you and we're going to keep it zoned this way, or let us go ahead and take you into the city and things will be the same. But once again, you got broken promises, you know, and I just got to ask the same question. I mean, how many of you people are approving apartment complexes and 0 lot lines? And a good point was made on Poplar Pike, just down the street from Forest Hill, Irene. You know, you approve 0 lot lines there, and I don't think those houses have even been sold. The bank took them back. You know, they just sit there. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I just feel that you'll listen to these people and do it the right way, and we'll talk about it in November.
John Benton. I think it's Benton. I may be. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Benton. I'm a resident of Memphis. So I just wanted to say a few short things that with the friends I have and wanted to plan on probably relocating to the Germantown area. I live in a 33 complex that's under covenants when the lots are 1 acre to 7.5. We have strong covenants. Memphis has never tried to rezone us. And my planning of moving out here was to have the same type of location, but with the guarantees, but having my friends tell me what's going on with the relocation to the school, the streets that are being added, the high-density housing. I don't see why anybody would want to move from Memphis to Germantown. And I just felt that being an outsider, I wanted to pass that on.
What's your zip code, sir?
38120.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We've reached the conclusion of citizens to be heard. We appreciate all the citizens that came forward, citizens of Germantown and the citizen from Memphis as well. We are about to move forward to sitting as a beer board, so at this time we will take a recess and reconvene at 5 till 8. All right, meeting is called back to order. We are still on recess as a Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and now we are a beer board for the city of Germantown. At this time, we're serving as the beer board for the citizens of Germantown. We have a public hearing this evening for a temporary beer permit for on-premise sales for the Germantown Festival. Mr. Lawton?
Thank you, Mayor. Per the city's alcoholic beverage ordinance, a temporary permit issued by the beer board may be granted and authorize the sale of beer on public property for a bona fide charitable organization or a non-for-profit organization. The Germantown Festival is seeking a temporary permit to sell beer at the annual Germantown Festival to be held Saturday, January 8th from 9:30 to 6 p.m. and on Sundays, September 9th between noon and 6 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton. Is there a motion to approve a temporary beer permit allowing the sale of beer on publicly owned property at the annual Germantown Festival to be held at the Germantown Civic Club Complex on Saturday, September the 8th from 9:30 to 6 p.m. and on Sunday, September the 9th from noon to 6?
Move to approve.
Second. So motion and a second. We have the motion established. I would now open a public hearing. If there's anyone in the attendance here this evening, anyone here that would like to come forward and speak to the board on this particular item, please do so now. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the board on this particular item, this temporary beer permit for on-premise consumption of the Germantown Festival? Third and final call. See no one come forward. That concludes the public hearing portion of this hearing. And now we move to discussion or questions for staff. Any questions for staff? It's been motioned and seconded. There's no discussion. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
No.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barziza?
Yes. The motion carries, and we've reached the conclusion of our business as a beer board. We are now adjourned as a beer board, and we are reformed as the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Takes us to the consent agenda. I'll go through those items fairly quickly. Item 11A, appointments for the Germantown Education Foundation. 11B, contract extension collection agency services. 11C, contract public safety radio system maintenance and hardware software upgrade. Item D, contract from TDEC Education and Outreach Grant. Item E, construction contract Bob Haley Park Culvert Replacement. Item F, construction contract Germantown City Hall Computer Room HVAC improvements. Item G, construction contract Germantown Parks and Recreation Building HVAC replacements. Item H, donation Germantown Education Commission. Item I, donation Parks and Recreation. Item J, purchase for theatrical lighting. Item K, Resolution 18R08, TML Pool Driver Safety Matching Grant Program. Item L, service contract, Cameron Brown and Cone Park Trail Repair. And item M was added to the consent agenda. That was formerly item 12, tenant-owned improvement agreement, Track 16, Germantown Road, Wolf River Boulevard, intersection improvement project. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified?
Move to approve.
Is there a motion? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barziza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
The consent agenda as modified has been approved. That brings us to, again, item 12 was added to the consent agenda. Item 13 is next on the agenda. It's a public hearing for Resolution 18R06, amendment to the outline plan of the Campbell Clinic expansion plan development. Mr. Ross.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. While I wait for the technology to catch up to me, I'll start. Item in front of you is to approve an amendment to the outline plan for the Campbell Clinic expansion that was part of their commercial plan development and recommended by Planning Commission. Just a little bit of background on this. The Planning Commission approved the final site plan for the original Campbell Clinic development on September 2nd, 1992. Since that time, they have built their main campus and added onto it a couple times in 2004, and then came back to us in 2013 for a rezoning request to go from office to Office 51, which is a 51-foot height area of office zoning. That was approved by this board on September 9th or September 22nd, 2014. In 2013 on April 6th. They then came back to the Planning Commission and to the BMA for a plan to expand on this area that was rezoned to Office 51, and that final plan was brought to the BMA on September 22nd. It included a few exceptions as part of that plan development to allow a 62-foot tall building, 4-story building that you recently saw, and adding a drop in parking from 893 standard spaces to 861 spaces, looking at an exception to drop the permeable surface area to 23%, and also to recognize the Neshoba Park Lake as the stormwater detention area. Since that time, they returned to Planning Commission and came with a proposal for a second amendment to move from 861 to 736. This would allow for their, this was approved by Planning Commission on a couple different premises. One, the clinic brought forward a industry study that illustrated that the times that they change patient transitions does not require as much parking as the office district required, and that any change in the zoning area that they would be the area that they would be modifying for parking to meet the requirements of the parking district would require significant impact to the vegetation area, the islands that were already established, the lighting of the parking lots, and into the area that could be used for patient treatment. So that request was approved by Planning Commission, and it's now moving forward to you for approval of the amendment of the final plan. This does include an addition of phases. Phase 1 would be a 50-lot parking, 50-space parking lot, which is the beginning of this development, that will be used temporarily by the West Clinic as they wait to finish and balance out their system with expansions that they're doing in the Memphis area. And then it'll go back over to Campbell Clinic once they're done with this construction project and be part of the spaces that they have. And then we also, in light of changes that they have made to the architecture of the building and the layout of the building, thought that it would be a good idea to bring this amendment to the outline plan forward, because they added a little bit more permeable space, bringing the total number up to 27%, and changed the building configuration around, added better circulation for the fire trucks, and then added an outdoor pervious pavement area for outside rehab as part of that plan. Staff concludes presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 18R06, an amendment to the outline plan for the Campbell Clinic planned development?
So moved.
It's a motion.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. This requires a public hearing. Now, I now open the hearing to the public. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak on this particular item? Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak on this particular item? Please state your name and address for the record with zip code.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Mike Davis. I'm with the Reeves firm. 6800 Poplar Avenue, 38138, Memphis, Tennessee. We are the civil engineers and landscape architects on the project, and are proud to represent such a fine organization. As Cameron delineated in his presentation, Campbell plans to build a freestanding, 4-story, 120,000 square foot medical office building adjacent to their existing campus and blending with their existing campus. In short, they need the space to meet the demands of current and future patient load and to maximize their presence in the Germantown area, which I think you would agree is a good thing. George Hernandez, the CEO of Campbell, is here, and between us, we can answer any question you might have regarding the project.
Thank you. We're in the public hearing phase right now. The applicant is here, and so if the board has questions of you, they will call on you here shortly. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on this particular item? Is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak on this particular item in front of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen? See no one come forward. That concludes our public hearing, and now we're open for discussion or questions of staff. Board, Alderman Barzizza?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Hernandez? It's a real simple question regarding the Memphis location in the Koger Center. Will you be moving from there into the new facility?
Yes,
or?
our lease there expires in early 2020, and we intend to vacate that space in the Koger Center and relocate that office into the new complex.
Just state your name and address for the record. We know who you are, Mr. Hernandez. However, let's make sure we have it.
George Hernandez, Campbell Clinic, 1400 South Germantown Road, 38138.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for staff or the applicant? Alderman Yonda.
Mr. Ross, so we're approving the amendment for the outline plan, and then we're transferring it over to the final plan, which will go back towards to the Planning Commission? Is that how the process works?
No, sir, the final plan will be
amended to match the
designed to match what was approved by the Planning Commission and brought forward with the development agreement.
Yeah, I just misunderstood what you were saying. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? It's been motioned and seconded. Please call the roll.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Moves to third and final reading. That brings us to item number 14 on the agenda, ordinance number 2018-06, amendment to modify the term of Design Review Commission, first reading. Mr. Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the first reading for amendments to Section 2169 of the Municipal Code to change the length of term of Design Review Commission members, and also to set the second reading and public hearing on this item for May 14th, 2018. This item is in front of you tonight to address a couple of concerns that were brought forward by the Design Review Commission in late 2017 to look at how we can extend terms and stagger terms so that there's always a depth of knowledge on the Design Review Commission, but also an opportunity for new members to take the first couple months and even the first year to get their sea legs under them in terms of the Design Review Commission. It's a very complex commission. There are several of you who have served on the Design Review Commission over the years and understand the level of detail that they get into and the particular terms that are thrown about rather casually, but are those of us that are part of the business, and that is part of what makes up those members of the Design Review Commission, but not every member of the Design Review Commission. So we wanted to work on educating our members and encouraging them to stay on, and we do understand that we'll be potentially losing a couple members over the next couple years, so we wanted to plan ahead for that. But this does help us move forward with that and also helps to, again, increase that depth of knowledge. The changes are pretty simple within the municipal code, and it's highlighted up here in red, changing it from 1 to 2 years and then appointments being staggered so that only half the members be appointed in the alternate years. This is a large commission at 9 members. The implementation shall be done by this board, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, when you usually set commission appointments in December.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Is there a motion to approve on first reading ordinance 2018-6, amendment to modify section 2-169 of the Germantown Municipal Code to change the length of the term of Design Review Commission members and to set the second reading and public hearing for May 14th, 2018?
I will make that motion.
It's a motion?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any questions for staff?
Cameron, I think I do have a question. Is this going to begin then in January? I think you said this, but I just want to make sure I understand it. It's going to begin with whoever is appointed in the 2009, well, I guess we do it in December, right? So
Yes,
we'll...
the terms will start on January 1st, 2019, beginning the staggered appointments. So half will still remain on a 1-year appointment, and half will get a 2-year appointment to start the staggering.
But it does not affect the terms of the people that are currently serving on the DRC, correct?
No, sir, it does not.
And the alderman that we have serving on the DRC is appointed for multiple years, correct?
I believe, but I don't have the ordinance and section in front of me other than this particular.
It runs, go ahead.
Coincides with their term in office.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton.
So I don't know that I'm necessarily opposed to this, but I think it's something that dawned on me. We do have an alderman liaison who is appointed for their term. So we have an alderman liaison who could provide some guidance to these other members for 4 years. So the alderman liaison should have sufficient knowledge, I think, to give some guidance to these folks. And I didn't know if that's something that we'd considered when staff brought this to the board for approval. I didn't know if anybody else had any other comments on that.
On
Go ahead.
design review last year, and we discussed it November.
Yes, sir. I believe that's when we talked about it at the subcommittee meeting on October 12th.
October. And I think it's very prudent that this takes place because we had spoken about one particular guy that we were potentially losing. I don't know if we ever did or not.
No, I encouraged him to stay on for 1 more year.
Well, good. So it all worked out. But I strongly encourage that we pass this.
Any other questions for staff? Alderman Owens.
Yeah, I'll be brief. The hour's late. This commission is a little bit different from any of the other commissions in that we fill the terms of engineer, architect, landscape planner, landscape architect, and I think retail. There's a variety of commissions that certainly I don't think any of the aldermen could fill all of that roles, although I do a pretty good job. But no, and so I think it's good that we have the couple of years that they can provide that experience.
Any other comments or questions? And this moves to a second reading. Please call the roll.
Alderman Yonda,
Yes.
Alderman Barziza,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson.
Yes.
Alderman Massey,
Yes.
Alderman Owens.
Yes.
Motion carries and moves us to a public hearing on May 14th, 2018. Having reached the conclusion of our business today, we are adjourned.